Brought to you by Kellogg's, the folks who bring the best to you each morning. A wide choice of cereals in the forms you like best. Yours from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line? And now let's meet our award-winning panel of What's My Line. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now that marvelously talented comedian who is back with us tonight by popular demand, something he is always having, Mr. Joey Bishop.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce a young lady whose voice of Broadway is sometimes heard around the world, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And I'd like to introduce the president of Random House, and with apologies to Joey, 52 weeks of the year, the funniest man in the dressing room, Bennett Cerf.
And here's a man that I admire very deeply and cherish as a friend, John Charles Davis.
Actually, you know, Bennett and I have a lot of fun picking at each other and kidding each other, but he has a lot of friends who write to me and say, "Stop being nasty to Bennett." And then people write to Bennett and say, "Stop being nasty to John," so we're going to be Alphonse and Gaston for a while. And it's nice to have Joey Bishop back with us in the panel. We're up to our old tricks, which is to give the panel as rough a half hour as is possible, which we will do, I promise you. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after this. And now let's meet our first challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Sign in right there, please. Edward Heinz, right, sir? I've had a chance to meet Mr. Heinz just briefly before we all came out on the stage, and I think one of the most remarkable things about him is that he's 78 and 7 months. It's pretty remarkable. I told him he looked younger than I did. And I said he certainly looked younger than Bennett. Wait a minute. I said he certainly looked, well, there we are. Bennett, truce is still on? Okay. Where are you from, Mr. Heinz?
San Jose, California.
San Jose, California.
San
Well, it's
Jose,
nice to have you with me. May I present our panel formally to you, Mr. Heinz? Will you join me over here, please, sir? Are you familiar with the way we keep score on What's My Line?
I am.
All right, fine. Then we'll let the audience in the theater and those who are watching at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Heinz is self-employed, that he deals in a service, and we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Heinz, do you work, you're self-employed. Do you work out of doors?
Do you work out of doors?
Oh, yes.
Do you work with your hands?
Yes.
Do you work in the soil?
No.
In the earth?
No. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Bishop.
So far, Mr. Heinz looks like the fellow who gave Castro his room.
He said you look like the man who gave Castro his room.
You deal in the service. Would I be someone that would come to you for your particular service?
Service, yes.
And actually, I would say here, Joey, that under certain circumstances, it's possible that you could come to Mr. Heinz for his service. I am not sufficiently familiar, nor is Mr. Heinz, with your particular personal life to say for certain you would, but you could under certain circumstances.
What is there about my answers, John, that encourage you to make a speech?
Joey, it isn't your answers. I just like to make speeches.
Oh, nothing personal, eh?
Nothing personal.
Is it a service that would benefit a human being?
No. No.
Well, with your permission, Mr. Hines, let me say that if you were to seek this service, the fact that it had been performed would be a benefit to you in a materialistic sense. But if you meant the question in terms of whether it would benefit you physically or mentally as an individual, then we would have to give you a no answer, and I'm sure that you meant it in the latter context, so we'll give you a no. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Would you mind repeating that, John?
Am I out of the game? Is that what you're telling me?
For the moment.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Hines, could a woman employ your services?
Oh, yes.
Do you work above the ground?
Yes.
But do you work on the ground as opposed to being a pilot or anything like that?
Yes, I do.
I think we can safely say that Mr. Hines, when he starts working, starts from the ground up.
Do you use any tools or implements or accessories in your work?
Yes.
Would you use a ladder?
What?
Would you use a ladder?
Oh, no.
No. I don't blame you.
And 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Hines, we can dismiss any thought of your being a member of the pickle family, can't we? You have nothing to do with pickles or 57 other varieties.
I'm the 58.
You're the 58.
He's 58. I would say, Bennett, if you didn't rule that out, you'd be in something of a pickle.
Mr. Hines, has your work got anything whatever to do with food or drink?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you work on anything that is built or being built?
No.
No, I think we would, with your permission, sir, because of the large degree and area of agreement that we have on general terms, we would have to say here that Mr. Hines does work on something that has been built or is being built.
Well, it's been built, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you give them a bit of
Would
help.
could you work, for example, on the outside of a house or a building?
No, I don't.
Small conference. Wait a minute.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, I could do.
Under certain circumstances, we would specifically describe Mr. Hines as working on the outside of a building, yes.
Yes.
Do you have anything to do with cleaning something?
Yes, in a way. In a way, yes.
But may I rule out washing windows? You do not wash windows.
No.
Do you do any blasting? Do you use implements to clean anything on the exterior?
Not blasting, no.
But he does use implements in a way
yes,
to clean, yes.
Yeah, but not to blast.
Well, would it be, would you use things like sandpaper?
Well, you could, but I don't. I don't as a rule.
Well, if you don't use it, I'm not for it.
Actually, I think that Mr. Hines has given the proper answer. These things could be used. He doesn't use them, so we'll have to call that a valid no. 5 down and 5 to go. Mr. Bishop.
Has the weather in the past week given you more work than, let's say, in the past? With the kind of weather we've had in the past week, been more profitable to you than nice weather?
What do you mean by the weather? The rain? Or...
Nothing. I just don't want to sit here like a nut, you know.
What Mr. Bishop is referring to, Mr. Hines, is we've had a little hurricane trouble, a good deal of rough wind and weathering.
Yeah, we didn't have that over there.
You didn't have it out in your part of the country, but I think it probably is fair to assume, Joey, that in extremes of weather you would create a condition which would, at least over some term of time or another, intend to increase Mr. Heinz's opportunities for work, yes.
Before I go any further, is there any old business? Are you in any way connected with the plumbing line, sir?
No.
$6.04 to go, Miss Kilgallen. I'm going to give you 1 more minute.
Mr. Hines, you have admitted that you sometimes work on or near the outside of a building. Is it possible for you to work inside, too?
Well, no, not on the building I work on, no.
Not in his work, I wouldn't think. It would be a little bit odd. 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Hines, if somebody called you a house painter, would they be anywhere near the truth?
Well, yes and no.
Bennett, I would say that's a very fair answer, and in all fairness, you must be allowed to continue to question. You raised a broad area, and I think now if you can define it a little bit more specifically.
Are you a builder of houses?
A builder of houses?
Or a builder or rebuilder, reconstruction?
Reconstruction of houses.
Could we have a conference?
Yes,
Yes, you can have a conference, but you get a no answer on that. That's 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis, and a conference.
No conference?
You can have a conference. 30 seconds.
May I be excluded from the conference?
He said he doesn't use a ladder. If he doesn't use a ladder and he is some kind of a house painter, it must be a very little house. Could it be something like a dog house or something? No. Okay, forget it.
I don't like to forget it, but that would still be a house painter, even if it's only a dog's house.
Remember I said this was a very broad area that
Very
Bennett
broad
had
area, yes.
described.
Do you use a paintbrush?
Yes.
Do you do decorative painting? Like, do you paint little pretty things or letters or things like that on the
No,
outside?
9 down. You want to take a shot at it, Joey?
Sure.
No, give him the $50.
Now, this is great fun. Here is Mr. Hines, 78 and 7 months, and he is a flagpole painter. Travels all around the country. Been doing it for 25 years, and does a great many flagpoles in schools and things like that. And the thing that fascinates me is he gets paid by the foot. Now, having a memory of some of the flagpoles that I've seen out in front of schools, this is a good business. Yes, Miss.
May I ask, Mr. Hines, how does he get to the top of them?
Shinny's out.
You rig a what? A block and tackle
No,
and
no. I just have a small rope. I use a chair to set it, a post chair.
Oh, sure.
And I make a half hitch around the pole.
Of course.
Then I have a rope with that I have for my feet. I have a loop on one end, 2 loops on the other, and together. And I put that around, put the 2 loops around, and stand on the ropes. And
I don't know why I didn't think of that.
I stand on the ropes and I set the chair, that's the half hitch, that tightens it up. And I shimmy up the pole.
I think we should have sent you to the Olympic Games.
Thank you very much, sir. It was nice to have you as a guest. And you say good night to the family? And I think it's only fair to announce at this point that immediately after this performance, we will begin to sell tickets for Dorothy's flagpole painting half hitch. Now let's see what we can do with another challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Eva Craig, right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Craig? Mrs. Craig, where are you from?
Pacific Palisades, California.
Pacific Palisades in California. Well, it's nice. This California night, I think. May I present our panel? Mrs. Craig, will you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score, Mrs. Craig? All right, then we'll let the audience in the theater and the folks at home know exactly what your line is. Panel, Mrs. Craig is salaried. She deals in a service, and we will begin the general questioning with Bennett Cerf.
Mrs. Craig, have you anything whatever to do with either sports or show business?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Sure.
Do you work for a non-profit organization?
Yes.
Do you work indoors?
Yes.
Could I use your services?
Yes.
Would it be funny when I used your services?
No.
No, it wouldn't be funny. That's $2.08 to go, Mr. Spencer.
She puts up the sign, wet paint, after Heinz gets through. She's not in show business, right?
Not in sports.
And not in
Non-profit
sports.
making organization.
A non-profit making organization. Well, that rules out Disneyland, right?
Right.
Is your services, or are your services more confined to children than to adults?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are people better off after you've performed your services?
We would hope so.
Yes.
Do you require a special education to perform your services?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any title besides Mrs.?
Pardon?
Do you have any title besides Mrs.?
Yes.
Are you a doctor?
No.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go.
But to continue...
Just a moment. Let me check this.
He's dying to get into a huddle.
I think... Right. I think, actually, Miss Dorothy, we'll call this back because there is a title involved, but the question was asked, I think, in specific terms of a doctorate or something like that. A doctorate is not required. There is a title involved, but it's a descriptive title rather than...
Well, then she gets a no.
Then I get a no.
You did say, are you a doctor?
Yes, I hate to get a no, but I really got it.
Well, all right. If you're
Dorothy.
generous to accept it, and that's fine. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Sir.
But, Mrs. Craig, can we gather then that you have got something to do with medical or hospital work, or children, or births of babies, or something of that sort? Something to do with medical
Yes.
affairs. But you are not a doctor.
No.
Could you be considered a nurse?
No.
No, I don't think so. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you have a specialty?
Yes.
Would it require machinery?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Bishop.
I'm a little confused, John. Earlier I said, do her services, does she cater more to children than to adults? And yet, later on, Bennett asked almost the same question, and there was not a no. Do you treat only adults?
Yes.
Only adults?
Yes.
And you are a professional woman.
Yes.
Is it more in the form of law than medicine?
No.
No. 7 down and 3 to go. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Miss Kilgallen?
Mrs. Craig, would you ever be found in an operating room or a delivery
No.
room?
Neither operating room nor delivery room. I think here again, Dorothy, we don't want to be unfair to you. It is, in Mrs. Craig's case, this is not true, but it is reasonable in the terms of your question to consider that somebody in the same occupation might be in the operating room or the delivery room, so you go ahead.
Well, may I ask this? Are there men doing what you do?
They could.
There could be. I would think that it would not be likely, but there could be because it's a matter here of professional training.
Do you deal more with women than with men?
Yes.
Do you deal with women who are in general in a particular state?
Yes.
Are they...
Arkansas.
California, I would hope. Are they, or are they about to be mothers?
Yes.
Do you have something to do with them that affects their physical well-being?
Yes.
Do you have something to do with the actual mechanics, if I may use that word, of childbirth?
Yes.
Well, in a way. Actually, I'm going to throw all the cards over, Dorothy, because we're running out of time. You've got it right. I think you'd come to it. She teaches a class for expectant mothers as a physical therapist. That's very good. Hey. That was a real tough one. I want to congratulate you. That's a real tough one, and you'd have gotten it in a matter now. You'd opened the door.
In
so
an
you'd...
hour or two.
No, in a minute or two, I think. And thank you very much, Mrs. Craig, for being our guest. It's nice to have had you on What's My Life. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the mystery celebrity's appearance, and as you all know, the panel is asked to blindfold itself at this time. Are those blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery guest, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it all with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Have you ever studied dentistry?
Studied what, Dorothy?
Dentistry.
Have you ever studied dentistry?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr.
I didn't
Cerf.
hear the answer. I'd like to hear the voice of the mystery guest.
No.
Oh. Are you well known in motion pictures?
We.
Miss Francis?
Have you made a picture that is about to open in New York?
What is your term of reference on about to open?
It's broad. Within the next couple of months. They must be looking at the calendar.
Yet.
Niet. 2 down, 8 to go, Mr. Bishop.
Was the answer no?
That right, mm-hmm.
But you are definitely in a movie. Is the movie that you are in, is it a musical as compared to a dramatic picture? Is he up, John? I didn't hear
We
the...
can't hear any answers here. The mic must have gone dead.
Everybody's laughing.
See?
See, you got a yes to that, Mr. Bishop. Miss Kilgallen?
I don't know. I asked, was it a musical, and the answer was yes.
Miss Kilgallen?
Have you ever appeared on the legitimate stage in New York?
No.
Mr. Cerf? That's 3 down and 7 to go.
Are you an American? Born in this this country?
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you a gentleman who is considered the greatest actor in Mexico?
I'll have to save him the embarrassment here and say yes.
Is it Cantinflas?
Yes.
Pepe?
You know, I must explain one reason the answers took so long is that Mr. Cantinflas, he wants to be so fair. You see, when he said it's a musical, but it's a romantic musical. It has a plot, so I had to persuade him that in our terms of reference, whether it was musical or drama was the basic issue.
You know, I'm in the picture.
It's, yeah.
I'm in it.
It opens on December 21st, though, you know, Joey. We were right. We were counting the calendar
You almost
there.
mentioned it earlier, right? When
That's
Arlene,
right.
I
said
was
that-
asking what kind of an introduction to give to Joey. And Joey said, is it too early to mention a picture that I've made? And
Not that I've made, that I'm in.
that you're in. Well, when you're in, I think you've made it. And you said it won't be out until, when does it open? December?
December 21st, and the picture is Pippi, and Joey
And
is
Joey's
in
in
it.
Well, it has
it?
an all-star
Isn't that
cast.
Has a lot
funny?
of Thank you, sir, very much for
Have we
being our
decided
guest.
not
Thank
to-
you for coming. We'll all be back after this word from our alternate sponsor. This is a time of year which has a rather particular significance for all of us. When we say, for instance, a friend of the family, we don't especially mean somebody that we look to for help, but in every single American community and town, there are families, children, the aged, almost every group in our society, who do look for help to the services that are supported by your United Community campaign. So be a friend of the family yourself, and remember that this time of year is particularly the time to give in the United way. Good night, Miss Arlene.
Good night, John. Thank you. Come back soon, Joey.
Thank you, Arlene. Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Joey. I agree. Good night, Bennett.
Good night, Casey Stengel and John Daly.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production